of God has freed us.
Hey everyone, Preacher Gannon here. If you've been here before, then welcome back. And if this is your first time here, then welcome to the flock. Today I'm going to take a look at the experience of 323 with the flight changes, ship changes, module changes, and of course, the new UI. I'm going to highlight some of my observations as we go along about the current state of the alpha, where I think this state indicates the direction we will see the game progress later, and address a particular hot topic on Spectrum, which claims, in a fair few posts now, that master modes and NPC changes make it difficult and in some cases impossible to perform even the low-level combat assignments in the game. I previously made an unlisted video to post in response on a Spectrum thread, where I performed a VLRT and an LRT back-to-back in the Space Potato, aka the Cutter, with no modifications. Today I'll be doing a sort of pseudo-challenge to do one of each level combat mission in as minimal of a ship as possible. Since this is being filmed during Invictus, the Avenger Titan starter package is actually $4 cheaper than the Space Potato starter package, so we will begin with an unmodified Avenger and see how far up the chain we can get before we have to upgrade our ship, and note some observations about the interface, combat mechanics, and etc. as we go along. So, let's get started. We'll hop up into our ship here. Now, this is a stock Avenger with no changes. This is how it comes from the factory. So let's start off with a VLRT. I'm not particularly worried about this because I previously was able to do these in the Space Potato. And this has quite a bit more firepower and maneuverability. So it should be even easier, even for a new pilot. So first let's grab a mission. So we'll go to Bounty Hunter. And let's find a VLRT. Here we go. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind, one of the first changes we're going to talk about is to the Call to Arms mission. The Call to Arms mission says now, criminals encountered as part of a paid contract do not qualify for the reward. So it used to be the case that you would take this and you get a little bit of a bonus for blowing up all of the other ships in a mission. Those are now worth 0 space bucks. So the first thing you're going to want to do these missions effectively is consider the fact that the only mission ship you care about is the actual target. Right? If you want to fight everyone because that's more fun, or in certain cases, maybe you need to pick them off to be able to safely engage the primary target, you might want to go for it. But for our purposes, we're going to get in, snipe the target, and then effectively escape without getting blown up. Okay? So let's go for it. Let's request our takeoff. Check for the doors. Pull your landing gear up. Now, if your landing gear's down, remember you're going to be doing like 30 meters a second only. So if you get up out into space and you're like, why am I moving so slow? Pull up your landing gear. Okay. Now, one thing I like about the Titan is even in combat mode, it's pretty quick compared to some other ships. Which also, aside from having 3 guns instead of 2, makes it a bit better choice than the Cutter for these types of missions. And it's $4 cheaper than the Cutter right now, so that's a bonus. Let me turn down the game volume a little bit because I worry that it might be coming through my speakers into the microphone. So looks like the research outpost is going to be our closest point of interest to get us to that bounty location. So here's one thing that I observe as well. As we jump out of quantum, you're going to notice that every time you switch modes, it's going to reset your speed limiter back to 50%. Okay? It's a little bit annoying. One thing you can do is if you go to options and you scroll down underneath flight, there should be speed limiter defaults to on. Set that to no. If you're already in your seat, it's not going to work. You'll have to like get out of your seat and back in. So what'll happen is you'll watch here, my speed now is going to zoom past where my limiter is set to because I have that set to no. Basically renders the speed limiter useless, which to me is a better compromise than what it currently does, which is reset to 50% every time you mode switch. So let's bank towards our target here, gain a little altitude so we can move at maximum speed outside of atmosphere and burn in on our target. Let's see if we have enough altitude to coast in decoupled mode. No, not quite. Let's put all our power to the engines so that will recharge quicker. The boost. Turn upside down so we can continue gaining altitude but still see roughly where our target is. Now that we're on max speed, there's no point in using the boost anymore. When we get to about 60, we'll angle down by about 10 degrees to start lowering our altitude back towards where the target will be. Okay, so we're going to turn and dip. Maybe we'll go for 20 actually. Now, one thing you can do is if you click the middle mouse button, if you're just using nav mode for speed, you can get rid of the quantum interface. And as we get close enough to see our target, we're going to switch mode to SCM real close so we drop out of nav mode and use it as a big ol' space break. I'll set target and start lighting him up. And he's already dead. Let's grab the next guy here because I thought I had the primary target, but it was just his buddy. Back strafe a little bit. Okay. I'd say that was pretty easy. Let's step up to an LRT. I don't even think we're going to go stop and refill our guns here. MRT, ERT. There we go. One LRT on Salin. That is where we are actually. So it's on the other side of the moon. Let's get some altitude so we quantum over there. You don't have to roll like that. It just amuses me. Let's pull back here and see. Okay, looks like there's a nearby POI that we can jump to. I do very much like the new interface. I wish that there was separation between nav mode and quantum mode by default. And that going to quantum mode just also put you in nav mode so that they would be explicit separate keys. Given that you can use the mouse middle button by default to switch modes, it seems like maybe that's already possible if you're clever with the key bindings. I just haven't really messed with it too much. But here, let's get quantum stuff off the screen. Now for me, I have a pair of joysticks, so it's a lot of taking my hand off the stick and going down to the mouse. And the reason the speed limiter is so egregious for me is if I use the wheel that I have set on the joystick, you see how small the movements are, but if I take my hand off the stick and use the mouse, the movements are much less egregious, but I have to take my hand off of the stick. So I just have it disabled entirely. Your mileage may vary, but I recommend turning it off if you're on sticks. So let's burn in a little bit here. Looks like we never changed our power to shields in the last mission, so we still have all of our power to gaining our boost back. Let's angle down towards the target and throw a scan. You the only guy here? A defender? Let's give power to guns. Backstrafe this guy a little bit. Okay, the other guy's starting to engage, so let's oh, we've already got the bounty objective done. So there's no need to mess with all of these extra guys here. So what we're going to do is use our speed to our advantage. Get up to our maximum afterburner speed before switching mode. Remember, your flares aren't going to work here, so you're going to want to already be aligned to something before your shields go off, so that your spool is as short as possible and you can jump away. There's no need to take on a 6v1 when call to arms isn't going to pay you for it. Now, observation 2 here is, and it was like this before 323, but Seraphim Station in particular, I very often have to do this double jump to. It's a bit tedious. Sometimes you jump past it and you have to like spin around and try to find where it is. Now, one of the things people worry about here is because of the way master modes work, is you might be particularly vulnerable when trying to enter the station. So what I like to do is do the same thing. Make my request, then slow down by turning on combat mode, and then heading over to my hangar with full shields, as opposed to trying to approach from, 60 kilometers away at SCM speed. And now this brings me to observation number 3. When I switch view mode, I no longer have use of the right stick. I'm spinning it around and nothing's happening. I have to take my hand off the left stick, press Z, and now I can control the ship in third-person view. Some of you might decry this as poor form using third-person view to land, I like doing it. This is 900 years in the future. My 2024 car has a external 360-degree view that I can look at the screen from inside the car while parking. I'm sure in 2954 we can say the same of our multi-million spaceships. So let's grab some ammo and then go do our next mission. Alrighty. Contracts. Let's find an MRT. So observation number 4. When you go to contracts and it defaults to your history instead of the open offers, I don't super like that. Now, is this one of the ones where they're on the ground? Yeah, I think that's one of the ones on the ground. You could tell the difference because the ones that are spaceships, it's going to say, like, there will be other guys on site, right? The ones that are, like, ground targets are going to say, this is just where they were. Locate them. They're also worth more. But right now we're focusing on the spaceship combat. So let's go get this guy. Now our next observation is, remember I said you have to use Z to go to the free look camera or swap out of the free look camera in order to be able to fly the ship. When you go back inside, you are now stuck in free look and have to press Z again to fly the ship from inside. It's a little bit wonky. I'm sure it can be sorted out in keybinds. It might have something to do with importing my previous flight stick control scheme. I'm not sure. I haven't decided to investigate that yet. But yeah, let's see if we can do an MRT in our basic Avenger here. You have to pardon me if you hear me wipe my nose a little bit. It's not a great allergy day. It's a good looking boat, the Avenger. Gives me future space shuttle vibes. Why are my controls not responding? Had to press Z again. Interesting. But so far, I feel like the claim that the new NPC behaviors and the fact that they have had their HP increased up to what those ships are supposed to have, because if you recall, they were previously artificially reduced to make these missions easier. And the claim was with their new behavior and the master modes and having their HP increased, it made winning these fights all but impossible, all right, in a starter ship, meaning that newbies would have a very hard time. But so far, I have not seen the LRTs or VLRTs to demonstrate anything I would associate with a challenge. So let's see who's here. Let's give a scan. Is he actually down in the bunker? Did I take the wrong mission? It would appear I had the missions backwards. Somebody's shooting at us. Is it the ground turret? Let's get some space on the location. Get our shields charged back up. Take a look at what's going on there. Seems to be the turret. Now, Connors doesn't have like the three big ground turrets, but they do have that one little turret on the roof. That's probably what was shooting at us. So let's see if we can. Let's follow through with this. If we were a new player and we took this mission by accident, which I've been playing Star Citizen for a very long time, and I took it by accident. Oh, they do have 3 turrets now. Connors used to just have the one roof turret. Interesting. All right. Well, we don't have a ground vehicle in our backpack here. So let's use the terrain for cover. And I'm flying without any of my ground equipment because I didn't think I was going to be doing ground missions. So this should be interesting. I also don't have a helmet for the same reason. So I think we're actually going to abandon this ground mission for now. We'll go do one later with the right equipment. Let's go get the proper MRT. Yeah. There needs to be some sort of clearer indication that one is fighting ships and the other is a ground mission, other than the price difference. But let's go find this one. Put some distance on us from the turrets there. And I'm not going to edit this out, right? Because this is as much about what the experience in the game is like as it is about what these ships can and can't do against the NPCs in the current state of the game. And if I can make that mistake, then a noob can definitely make that mistake. And I've been backing Star Citizen since like 2014, 2013, whenever it was on Kickstarter. About the Rear Admiral Constellation backer thing. I'm still waiting for my physical model of a Constellation, by the way. It's convenient. It dropped us quite close. I don't see anything on scan, but let's get our shields up. There's one guy up here. We're looking for Jacob Needham. This is Aaron Mahoney. Is that a mole? Or a reclaimer? We are not going to try to take on the reclaimer. See if we can find our actual target. See, also on the ground. So both MRTs are on the ground. Meanwhile, we've got this big beast here. This would be something quite difficult for a ship like this to take on. Let's get our boost charged back up, get some distance on this thing, and see what we can do about it. First things first, let's use whatever little missiles we've got. Try to soften them up. Then we'll see if we can get on the ground and deal with the actual target. I don't know that we actually have enough ammunition to deal with this before we run out and are stuck with just our two little laser cannons. But let's see what we can do. Let's charge up the guns. We're going to have to evade his turrets as much as possible. Because if he does get a hit on us, it's going to hurt. Because he has Galderines by default, I believe. Unless they've changed it in this patch. Let's try to stay on his 6. Though those turrets can shoot backwards. We can't see what kind of damage we're doing because he's not showing up properly in the MFD. So that's kind of a problem. I don't suppose they're going to spend a lot of time dealing with MFD problems right now, though. And the reason for that, if we want to speak to where their game is going, we know that CIG is reworking all the MFDs to begin with. So don't think they're going to put a lot of focus on fixing the MFDs as they are. Now let's change position again before his turrets get a chance to find us. Now, normally, I would say you really want to use your pitch for tracking and not yaw. But this thing's very slow, this reclaimer. So we don't have to be too worried about it. We are almost out of ballistics. I can't really tell what his shields are doing with these cannons. So I'm not sure if they're doing any damage to his hull yet. So for a new player, this would be a very annoying experience. I don't know if I would say it's an impossible experience. All right, so now we're going to have to rely on our little cannons here. Which recharge very slow compared to how fast they discharge. So we're just gonna take it easy. See, his turret is shooting us through the body of his ship, but we did get the job done. He is dead. So now let's go find our actual target now that we don't have to worry about this thing harassing us. And that's another observation I would point out to CIG. NPCs being able to fire their turrets through their own hull in positions that a player ship would not be able to hit you with their turrets. That would be something that's pretty problematic for a new player. Now, we don't have any ground weapons on us. And both MRTs available are ground targets for some reason. So it's a bit annoying, but let's see if we can get close enough, get him to spawn, and murder him with our ship lasers. Yeah, there he is. Hi, buddy. Okay. MRT in an Avenger. Impossible? No. A little bit annoying? Definitely. So let's scoot on back to Seraphim. Let's get some, yeah, there we go. Get some space to make it warpable. And while we were doing this, my lunch arrived. So I'm going to pause the video here and begin recording again as we go out in search of an HRT. So I'll see you guys back here in a little bit. Hey everyone, Editing Preacher here. As I sat down to film this next part of this video, I realized that the first part was already 30 minutes long. So I'm actually going to stop the video here, upload it as it is, as a part 1. And in part 2, we will pick up where we left off with HRTs, and we will attempt it first in the Avenger and see if we are able to complete it with that ship. And if not, we'll see what the minimum next step up ship we need is in order to complete that HRT and go on from there. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace be with you.